Did you know that there's an organisation that was established in 1884 that has a logo that displays a wolf dressed up in sheep's clothing? And that organisation is the Fabian Socialists. So examples of famous Fabian Socialists include George Bernard Shaw, the guy who thought it was a good idea for people to have to justify their existence, and those that shouldn't, useless eaters, should be put to death by the state. In more recent times, we've got Sir Keir Starmer, the leader of the Labour Party. He also apparently is a Fabian Socialist. Barack Obama apparently is also a Fabian Socialist. So what do these guys want? What's the objective of Fabian Socialism? So basically the goal is to dismantle private enterprise, free markets, individual liberty and choice, and replace it with the tyranny of the state. So the state eventually will own all businesses. The state will decide what you can and can't do with your life. And Fabian Socialists kind of justify this by saying, well, individuals don't know what's best for them. So what we need to do to save them from themselves is to step in and run their lives for them, because the government knows best. So if you were to ask people, do they want this? Ordinary people like me and you, they would say, like, no way. You know, how do you know what I want? And you know, what you think that I might want might be very different from what I actually want. So for the Fabian Socialists to get their way, they have to deceive people. Hence the wolf dressed up in sheep's clothing as their logo. So the original Fabian Socialists believed that to pull off this stunt, they had to transform society very, very slowly over centuries. So that, it might take a couple of centuries to get to their end station, which would be a global one world government where the state controls every aspect of an individual's life. So the game plan to win people over to Fabian Socialism was to offer people all sorts of promises, promises of free healthcare, promises of cheap housing, promises of cheap and available food, promises that they would have their kids would be educated properly. Basically the welfare state, which was assembled gradually during the 20th century. But as we all know, when the government intervenes, it always messes things up, because central planners are, they're the wrong people for the job. These are people that couldn't make it in the free market. So whenever the government intervenes to fix something, all they do is create a whole load of unintended consequences that lead to new problems. So a classic example might be paying housing benefit to people. So the government might say, Fabian Socialists might say, well, this is to help the poor. But actually it doesn't. It makes the problem even worse, because if you pay housing benefit to some people, that enables landlords to raise rents. So other people who aren't quite as poor, who don't qualify for housing benefit, end up having to pay higher rents. And at the same time, housing benefit flows from the pockets of the tenants straight into the pockets of the landlord. And in fact, because most landlords have mortgages, most of the taxpayers' money paid in housing benefit goes into the pocket of rich bankers. So rather than housing benefit reducing the gap between rich and poor, it actually increases it. So what we've seen over the last century is a gradual increase in the size and the role of the state. And this hasn't been an accident. This has been deliberate. A deliberate part of this the wolves in sheep's clothing. The Fabian Socialists want this complete dominance by the state over the individual. They knew that they couldn't do it quickly. They have to do it relatively slowly so people don't notice. And this was the way that they were going to achieve that goal. The answer's always in the Bible, isn't it? So this goes back to the wisdom of the Bible. You'll know them by the fruits. So it's said in Matthew chapter 7 verse 16. Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they're ravenous wolves. You'll know them by their fruits. And I think the other thing as well is that the Fabian socialists have, down to Divok and whatever, they felt the need to accelerate things a little bit too quickly. And so what I would say now is that the sheepskin has fallen off the wolf, and we can all see the wolf for what it is. The deception has been revealed to everybody. So, we've got this phrase, haven't we, the Great Reset, and then this counter phrase, the Great Awakening. And, going back to this phrase, or the 2 verses in the Bible, beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing. Well, that's the government, isn't it? They come promising you all sorts of things, and then, gradually pursue their own hidden agenda, which is taking over your life and taking over society and stealing from you. They are ravenous wolves, as the Bible says. But I think the good news is that it's all out in the open now. It can't be any clearer to people that the government is not on their side, and that the government is seeking to enslave them, with 15-minute cities, with Divok lockdowns, and all the rest of the nonsense. So I'm on a few web forums that British people post on, and things are not going well there at all. There's people who, one is like an investment community, and there's people on there who are posting images of indoor thermometers showing like 14 degrees, because they can't afford to turn their heating on. You've also got people complaining about record tax increases. You've also got people complaining that they can't see their NHS GP, let alone an NHS dentist. There's people fixing their own teeth with super glue. So I would have thought now that people should be able to see the government for what it is. They should be able to see, in particular, the British government for the fruits, their fruits. What is the British government doing to the British people? It seems to be collecting ever more amounts of tax and then spending it on bringing in fighting age men who are being put up in 4-star hotels. Yeah, so basically the sheepskins come off the wolf. We can all see it for what it is. So what shall we do next? Well, obviously is stop complying. If you want to get eaten by the ravenous wolves, carry on doing what the wolves want you to do. So, if you've been going to the Britney Spears concerts, maybe stop doing that. If you've been supporting crazy wars, finance with your taxes, maybe stop doing that. This Veritas Vinsat, or whatever his name is, he basically said yesterday that he was calling for peaceful demonstration. I think that's a good idea. Show these wolves that you're no longer willing to cooperate with their agenda, and then it all stops. So, what does the future hold? Well, I think the future basically is going to be, in a sentence, life after the state. It's already happening, of course, already, that many people have given up on state education and doing homeschooling instead. Many people have stopped using the NHS and are finding their own solutions to health problems. So I think that's the future, is basically private cooperation done on a voluntary basis, rather than what the wolves want, which is you taking the knee to their big state tyranny. So yeah, that's all that I want to say today. It's been a beautiful day. It's just started to cloud over now, but we've had one of these fantastic winter days in Finland. So we're at the first week of January, and it's one of the darkest times of year, and it's 3 o'clock. And you know, when it's like this, it can be pretty bright in Finland, actually, even in the winter time, you know, because of the blue sky and the snow. So absolutely fantastic place to live. Couldn't recommend it more. So God bless to you.